Hi Taurus, and welcome to your energy forecast for the week beginning the 24th of April 2017. Happy birthday to anyone who's celebrating these early year days. Your solar return should actually have you feeling on top of the world, raring to go, excited and enthusiastic about future possibilities. And that energy, that energy should stay with us all month. It should be there while ever the sun is in your solar return. Okay, straight on to the reading. We're doing 7 cards today. A general flow of energies, not specific to each day. Though if they jump out at me that way, I will state that. And let's see what we've got to focus on this week. 3 of Swords, 7 of Cups, 5 of Wands, 8 of Swords, the Knave of Swords, the Lover's card, and the 8 of Wands, with 2 8s together. So there could be something karma. There could be a cycle of karma this week. 2 8s, 2 7s, because we have the 7 of Cups and the 7 in the major arcana as the Lovers. Now 2 7s together can talk of a new romance or a new friendship. It can talk of the coming together of an unexpected meeting, a passionate meeting. That's where I wanted to be, a passionate meeting. As I say, the 2 8s do talk of karmic cycles. They talk of change. They can be career, business, finances. 8s talk of balance. Let's go from card 1. 3 of Swords. We know this card. This card is talking about physical pain in our hearts due to how we've let ourselves be treated in the past, choices we've made, situations we've put ourselves in, situations other people have put us in. It's a minor arcana, so, and that really, it doesn't refer to it being minor pain. It's very real, this pain. While we're there, it hurts. But we see the truth of the matter. When we've got to this level of pain and hurt, we can see it clearly for what it is. It can talk of relationships breaking up. It can talk of affairs and disappointments in the love sector. But the positive of it is, when this card comes out, you know exactly where you stand in the situation. There's nothing hidden. If there's been betrayal, it's already gone. We know about it now. We know exactly where we stand. We know the truth in the situation, and it's happened for a reason. We may not know the reason why yet. Now 3s do talk to 3. It could be a 3-way scenario here, because it's sat right next to the 7 of Cups, which talks about our choices, our emotional choices. So we could have either betrayed someone because we had a lot of choices around us at the minute, and there's somebody else, another choice that's pulling us, which would give us the 3-way scenario if we're already involved with someone. a three-way scenario, maybe that our partner is actually looking somewhere else and we realise they've got the choices. We haven't been the only one in their circle. And the heartache is the realisation that attention has been put somewhere else. You can talk about being betrayed in work as well, in work situations. It can talk of past love, memories of past relationships that didn't work out, and heartache. Maybe that's where we're coming. Taurus at the minute, we're still recovering from a heartache, from something that hurt us deeply. There's choices around us, though a wise choice does have to be made. With the Seven of Cups, we've got a lot of options on the table, so we have to be wise about this choice, which is exactly what the Lover's card in the Major Arcana says too. We've got to be wise about the choices that we make regarding this situation. And that's not a 6, it's a 7, not a 7, it's a 6. So the passionate meeting that I said earlier isn't there. And that's next to the 5 of Wands. Now the 5 of Wands talks about competition, but it can be, you'll have to excuse me, Taurus. I've got my daughter home from school for the holidays. Bless her, we're blind and autistic. We've been up all night partying. We can easily turn days into nights at our house. She was up all night partying and has slept all day. I've tried my hardest to get these readings out the way before we started with the musical accompaniment upstairs. I'm having to cancel and stop videos and re-record because I keep getting interrupted, and I'm so fearful that it's going to deter you from your readings. Two seconds, Taurus. I'll see if we can get her to turn it down. I will be pausing the video. I don't like to do this, but let's see how we go. Sorry about that, Taurus. We've made a compromise. She switched it down. For how long, I don't know. But I'm sure we'll find out. So the 5 of Swords talks of competition, tests. Maybe this heartache and the choices that were made regarding it was a test that was put towards us. We then move to the 8 of Swords. Now the 8 of Swords talks about mentally blocking ourselves and putting ourselves in a position where we can't see with the wood for the trees. The mental mind mash. Feeling bound, feeling tied, feeling restricted due to actions of others. Our thoughts of actions of others. This could very easily be the outcome of a mindset of the 3 of Swords and the healing and the process of going through the 3 of Swords. But this card talks about closing ourselves off. Not looking at choices that are in front of us. Not wanting to sit the exams or the tests and push ourselves through, follow our desires. Not wanting to be in touch with our emotions and feeling the emotional side of our nature. not wanting to feel the pain of this past hurt. But all these restrictions we're doing ourselves. We're letting our mind take over and take charge. We're letting our thoughts rule our actions and keeping ourselves stagnant and held back and in a feeling of being restricted. If we can work through this energy of the self-restriction and talk logically to ourselves and see where we are doing this to ourselves, we can move out and into a lot better energy. Now, the planetary aspects this week do talk very much about healing those old wounds, about things coming up from our past, choices that have been made in the past, conflicts or competition that we've had in the past. Maybe this is a little conflict within ourselves, how we've had to defend ourselves. But even so, there's a great energy at the minute this week that brings us to facing our challenges, facing our emotional cycles regarding things, and healing them old wounds. Great mental productivity can be made this week with the stars the planets alignments. And if we look here, we're going from a 3 to an 8. We're jumping 5 swords straight away in this one reading, which is moving on tremendously, but we're moving on to a place that's still not great. We're not hurting anymore, and we're probably understanding more of how we got there, but we're putting more protection around ourselves and more swords to barricade ourselves away from being in a situation of choosing, from being in a situation of choosing or moving on and finding something that is fulfilling or the right choice. And that sits next to the Knave of Swords. Now, the Knave of Swords is the young sword energy. So we could be talking about a child here. There could be an air sign. A child, an air sign. Aquarius, Libra or Gemini. That's in this situation. But it could talk about needing to find our feeling of being young at heart again. But it can talk us about someone gossiping and slander surrounding us, someone being jealous, being childish. This person, it could be us being childish about the way we handle coming through this pain. It's quite a selfish card. Can be quite underhand in actions. Can also talk about legal matters again, though. It can talk about a complaint at work, or needing to sign some kind of a contract. Are we under pressure here and we're not wanting to push forward and sign this paperwork that needs to be signed, or this legal document, contract? And the other side of this card can talk about legal issues. It can talk about cutting wounds. Now, if there's any card in the deck that talks of cutting wounds, it's this 3 of Swords and the heartache we felt there. We can be, if this is our energy, we're being rather immature, self-centered, probably to protect ourselves. But that's not the way forward. If it is regarding legal issues, and we've got a lot of mental anxiety and stress over it, and take the love situation out of this altogether, this is still not the way to move forward, especially not in a business capacity. We are talking of signing contracts here. We are talking of paperwork, of being totally precise in how we verbally communicate. Our written word being so clear that it can't be misunderstood, as well as our spoken word cannot be misunderstood. We've got to be very clear in our communications this week. That could be why the two swords have appeared, to say communication is the key this week. How we communicate, what's happening, where we are, what choices are around. We do have 2 Wands cards, so you could say there's as much passion in this as there is thought and communication and clarity. Let's see, so we go to the Lovers. Now we know the Lovers card, it's card number 6 in the Major Arcana, and it talks to Geminis. We're coming back to this air sign here again. So there could quite easily be an air sign around you at the minute that is just arrogant, they're bolshy, they're self-centered, they're thinking about themselves, they don't care who they hurt in the process, they're just ploughing on through. But again, this card talks of partnerships, of choices being made, emotional choices. This is emotional choices in the 7 of Cups. But it talks of partnerships, it talks of contracts, it talks of uniting, be it in career, in love. Now we do have 2 Wands cards, so it could be career based. It could be a career contract. We feel very passionate about it and emotional about it. Is it our own project that we've been very creative and hands-on in creating, so we are emotionally attached to it too? Have we been backstabbed in the work environment, and it's led us to be defensive? I mean, and actually this kind of thinking would lead us to blocking our passionate nature, blocking our emotional nature, and blocking our ability to communicate our true desires. If the Lovers comes back to a signing of contracts, look at the details. This guy, Knave of Swords, look how he's pointing at that book. He's pointing something out, maybe something that's been missed. He's making you aware of maybe which is the right choice in this cup to take. It may be making you aware of the tests or competition that's around at the minute. It may be making you aware that the negative hurt and self-limiting thoughts all have to be taken into account this week before moving on, because if not, we're going to move on in his energy and not put a very nice picture of ourselves out there, make the wrong choices. Or again, this could be somebody else in our environment trying to upset the balance that we already have. On the final card, we have the Eight of Wands. Now, the Eight of Wands talks about, in normal decks, we refer to it as the arrows of love. And though it is a passion card and action card, what we're physically doing, it does talk about communication, a lot of communication. Next to the Lovers, I would have said, yeah, it could be the coming together of a relationship, but maybe somebody in this situation hasn't got an handle on it and they're being very immature about it. Maybe the offer of love that comes in with the Lovers, when you look at it, among the other options that are available, you realise this person is still hurting from a past relationship. They're still being guarded. And that's why they seem to have an immature attitude towards it, a maybe selfish attitude towards it. That could be us, Taurus, if we have been hurt in the past, probably by something that we thought was the ultimate love connection. Then we are holding ourselves back, restricting ourselves. I mean, if this has come in a place of advice, I would say it's restrict, and yes, be cautious about how you say things, what you say, how you push forward. You see, the swords again is still a swift energy, but these are an energy that it can chop your head off and then think about it afterwards. We're moving forward with Wands energy is in a gentler way. It can be a lot faster, but it's running with our passions and desires. This one's running away with our thoughts and our speech. So make sure our clarity of thought, our communication in anything, if we're coming together in any situation this week, is clear and concise. This card does signify a lot of conversation, a lot of interaction. It can be emails, it can be text messages, but it can talk about a lot of activity now starting up and things starting to move. It follows straight after the Lovers, so maybe there is at some point this week a recognition that there could be a chance of a relationship with somebody, and you're wanting that. Blockages have got to be worked through. Old hurts have got to be understood, so we don't carry them on into this new beginning. The Knave of Swords is sat in a lilac coat, and looking at that, I would say that intuition is going to have a lot, and actually that would make sense being sat by the Lovers. Intuition is you're going to have to depend on your intuition a lot. If there is a choice to be made, which choice to make, where we see in competition or tests in our life, our intuition on letting go of past hurts and past pains, getting over our takes, intuition in recognising these situations when they come again, seeing the red flags for these situations, and our intuition to realise, yeah, we do, it's good to protect ourselves, don't get me wrong, but this is blinding ourselves, this is stagnating ourselves, this is purposely in mental thought blocking ourselves off from progressing on, and you don't want that. If nothing else in life, we change every second. You know, one moment we can be a certain way, have a thought, and that's it. We change person for the rest of our lives. This card, the Lovers, does talk very much like the Devil, of being bound together, knowing there's a connection that is more than just a physical attraction. The Knave of Swords, as we sat at the minute, is sat right in the middle of the spread, and I think it's saying use your intellect about all these situations that are around you today. Use your mind, use your intuition to navigate through the different energies that you're facing this week. 3 quick over clarifiers for the whole lot, and we have the 8 of Swords, which we're back here to the 8 of Swords. So maybe we're going to get a bit of clarification as to what. So the 8 of Swords again does talk to us about being bound, feeling restricted, not having mental clarity, changes. Eights are changes. We can talk of that karmic cycle with the 8, and with another 8 here. So that would give us 3 in the reading, that yeah, maybe it is something karmic, and that's why this Lovers feels a lot more than just a connection with somebody, because we've been here in lifetimes before, or we've been here in the past. And I mean, if it is a soulmate connection, not all soulmates are there to be the love of our lives for the rest of our lives. Excuse me. 90% of the time, a soulmate connection is there to teach us the really harsh lessons in life, to make us resilient. The soulmate for me is very much the divine energies, the universal energies saying, yes, we will give you happiness, but we'll make you strong first. So the 8 of Swords, we're restricting ourselves. We're restricting ourselves with circumstances or choices. We can be bound to too many responsibilities with the 8 of Swords. It does talk of separations. It does talk of lots of responsibility and a lack of vision. Now, lack of vision for me would bring us to this more immature energy of the Knave of Swords. But the restrictions that we've put on ourselves through past hurts, maybe past choices, have brought us to the Magician, which the Magician is a fantastic card to have. I think we're going to be tested this week. I think somebody's going to come in and just fire our backs up. Say something, do something that just really fires us up, and it could get an emotional response out of us too. But it's got us on guard. Maybe it did actually hurt us, and we want to kick back. We want to give as much as we've got from this guy. But please don't. The planetary alignments this week do talk of, you know, keeping calm and resilient, working through old heartaches. So try and get through that without igniting it anymore. Because if we can get past this self-restriction we're putting ourselves, we've got the Magician, and the Magician does say, you know, have faith in yourself, trust. Everything happens at the right time and for the right reasons. We've just got to be flexible enough to go with the flow and make use of the energies as they come, whatever energies they are. Now, the main energies this week are healing, picking up old wounds and laying them to rest, which I think we've got very much so here. And by doing that, we can walk away from this agitation, this bit of selfishness that we may feel regarding a certain situation, and have all the tools in the box. Have all the tools in the box to move forward and create something new in our environment that we want. And the final card is the Knave of Pentacles. So the Knave of Pentacles talks to the Page of Pentacles. So again, we could be talking about a child. But the Pentacles are slow moving. This guy usually brings good news about finances and work. And the Eight of Wands, which is the activity, the flurry, the boost in activity, the boost in communication, is actually a career card. So it could be very much that. It also talks of education. Now, the Knave of Swords can talk about education. He's getting to the bottom of something. He's reading up on something. He's seeking knowledge of some kind. It could be a self-knowledge of handling these emotions and feelings and thoughts. It could be researching a way of coming out of the mental anguish of our restrictions and where we've put ourselves and how we're holding ourselves back, not letting the Magician that we are come forward and make the right choices, use the right tools to get us forward. It does bring a hope that a wish will be granted. So if we are wishing to get away from all this anxiety and mental activity that's going on in these two cards, and maybe it is brought in by another person, maybe there is another person that's bringing drama into our lives. This one says that a wish could be granted with the planetary aspects if we're willing to face these things, and that's probably why the Eight of Swords have come out twice. She doesn't face what's happening to her because she's put herself there. She can blame everybody in the world. The reason she's restricted and she's feeling the way she is and she's cut off like she is because blah 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 blah, and everybody else gets the blame for it, but she's chose to do it. She's chose to react that way to situations, so she's put herself here. When we can work through that energy and realise that, then we realise that, yeah, you know, our toolbox is fantastic. Them swords are that sharp that we can put ourselves into these kind of positions. That's not good. So let's use these tools right to move forward. There could be a job offer with this. We could be waiting around for a job offer. We could be hearing of one. We could be selling property and moving with this card. But again, this card says look at the finer details of anything at the minute. It does talk of communication, which the Eight of Wands talks about, and it talks of confidence and optimism. It does talk about paying attention to paperwork. Which I think is probably relevant because it's more or less on top of the Lovers, and the Lovers talks of contracts. If we take the love scenario out of it, and it is on a professional business level, any contracts need signing, just double check the paperwork. It is Mercury retrograde, so it's worth doing that anyway at any point. And the Knave of Pentacles talks about moving on and making progress in that materialistic, putting the actual roots down of things. You might be holding some desires back this week, or regretting some choices we've made. Quite a bit of mental. We might have felt if we're coming into this week with the energy of these swords that we've been holding ourselves back for a while. We've been stagnating ourselves. We've not been looking at growing any further. We've been making ourselves content with the choices that we've already made. But we're not going to progress from there. And if anything, being in that mental chatter and letting that still rule our daily life is going to take us down the road of not making right choices. We could become quite selfish with that card. And in general, Taurus, that's not you. You know, we are in touch. We are grounded in who we are. So my advice would be, you know, keep the passion there. Don't lose being in touch with your emotions. Check in with your emotions. Still feel your passions. Live your passions. Be hopeful. Be optimistic about choices that are to come. Understand that heartache and the mental games we play with ourselves to protect ourselves do serve the purpose, but they're energies that we have got to move on from, and the sooner that we move through them, accept them and move through them and understand them, the easier they are. If it is regarding business situations, there could be somebody who's quite childish and quite temperamental in the work environment. Check any contracts. But I see promise. If we can get past this stubborn energy in our minds, there's so much promise in the rest of these cards. So much promise. For our negative, we can talk about the Knave of Swords. If he's not got all this mind chatter with him, he could just talk about moving more swiftly, looking for the truth, getting to the truth of the matter regarding something. And that could be it. We need to probably look inside ourselves, ask our intuition to bring us to the truth of the matter of why we react in these ways to these circumstances that went around, or the choices around us at the minute, or what we think is a test. But we've got communication, we've got interaction with others, we've got a lot of activity in the very near future. So you've got to get yourself in a good frame of mind to be able to work through that. We don't want to be making decisions and choices that just throw us totally off par and nobody understands us. There's that talking, clarity, making sure written word, it's clear our intentions. There could be misunderstandings. Someone could misunderstand your intentions because of the clarity of how we get that message across. Messages are here again. So think about what we're saying this week. Make sure we're clean, crisp, precise. Anything that brings up bad feelings or memories of bad feelings or sadness, work through it, face it, work through it, feel them emotions, face the challenge of it coming up, get to the bottom of it, and then we can let it go and move it out of our environment. We don't have to keep on carrying it once we've worked through it. Well, Taurus, it's a mixed bag of energy this week. I hope you can work your way through it without any major problems. And if you do need any guidance or you want to have a chat about anything and look into it deeper, just get in touch. You know the scenario. Thank you so much for your patience, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye.